Hello, Rennie. I see you're waiting. My camera looks foggy over here. I don't know what that's about. Hello and welcome whoever's here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your patience. We've got a fuzzball, which are better than all the stink bugs I'm collecting, or either that or that's an orb. I'm not sure which. So I'm going to try to keep this straight. That's weird. We went from 4 people down to 1 person. I hadn't even opened my mouth yet. I'm so offended. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep it straight here, and I'm going to try to tell you when things are things that I've read. Hello, Scott, and welcome. I'm going to try to keep it straight. I'm going to try to tell you when things that I'm telling you are from the news that made the news. And when I'm telling you something that is the news that has not made the news, okay? This could be a 12-hour video. I'm gonna try to refrain from that. Oh, I lost some of my notes. So I had gone to the thrift store and bought a rowing machine and a desk for myself, came back, got it up the steps, got it in my apartment. Hello, Queen Star Sophia. And a family friend of 30 years called me and said, hey, how would you like to come to Florida and help me move from my condo to a house? So I was gone for a week and I pretty much destroyed my house on the way out. Carly, hello and welcome. There has been so much going on that it is mind-blowing. I was in Florida for 7 days helping a family friend move. And so we were not on social media. We had no TV that was hooked up yet. And we hadn't been on social media. We hadn't done anything but move from Monday through to Friday. On Friday, he was like, let's sit down, have a drink, have a snack, let's chill out. And that's when I found something from the CDC. Okay, I'm gonna try my grandest. You know, you guys, you know how squirmy I get. I am going to try my grandest here to keep this somewhat streamlined and get it done in less than 3 hours, because I feel like it could go 3 hours very easily. Disclaimer, as always, and this one won't be that I'm not an astrologist, because I think we all know that already. This disclaimer will be that I possibly don't have my 3D physical facts 100% accurate, due to the fact that there's a lot of information out there and 10 times more disinformation than information. I don't know why I always struggle with my clothing, specifically a sweater and a video. So hello, welcome to the news that didn't make the news. Thank you for being subscribed to this channel. I am like 18 subscriptions away from 1,000, and then I can do so much more stuff. Hello, Anjali. Thank you for joining us. So, disclaimer, I will try to get the 3D exciting news as correct as I can get it for what I was doing at the time when I was receiving it. I will also try to tell you, make sure that I tell you when it's something that actually came from the news and when it's something that came from what I saw or what I heard. And that may be a little confusing because I have about 6 pages of notes. Let's get into this. I mean, this really could be a 6-hour conversation. I don't want to do that to you, and I don't want to do that to myself. We all know I like to go to bed at 9 o'clock over here. So I'm going to try to make each topic and do it in its brevity. Okay, so just to give you the highlights of the main things that some may be coming from underground news. Some of it may be coming from mainstream news. Uh-oh. Hold on 1 second. I have a new desk, which now allows me to touch my cord, and I don't want to unplug this in the middle of filming this video. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath with me. This is such important information. And I'm contemplating exactly how to do it. I don't like to write or give myself an exact script because I channel less when I do that. So let's get into this. Turbulent and very, very, very exciting signs. I said in my last video, if you didn't watch that, which I had talked about FEMA in there, and the video wasn't even getting around. I had to go back and redo the title. I thought I was going to have to redo the video itself. They're watching the information very closely, and this is a highly censored platform. Not quite as bad as Facebook, but highly censored nevertheless. So, one thing that is, well, let me start with this. I'm sure that all of you know who David Wilcock is, whether you follow him or not. I think it was 2012, but it could have been 2013. He interviewed a guy named Drake Bailey. Drake Bailey was in the Army for at least 25 years, maybe a little bit longer, and he is now part of a militia group and has a website where he disseminates information about whatever's going on to the best of his knowledge. I think he still talks to other whistleblowers, and he has a lot of connections, obviously militia connections as well. Now, you don't have to be a fan of David Wilcock, and you don't have to be a fan of Drake Bailey either. So David Wilcock interviewed Drake Bailey in 2012 or 2013, and the brevity of it was this. He lives way up in the mountains of North Carolina. He is surrounded by stashes of food and weapons. What he realized, I don't know how many years into being stationed in the Army on the ground in third world countries, was that there was a lot of things that were going on to him that didn't make any sense. And the reason why he was told he was there was not the reason that he was there. And he started making friends with the locals. This was a 2-hour video. I want to try to give you just a 2-minute scenario. He said that a group of men dressed in suits, which is strange because that's always how I see this happening. But he said a group of men dressed in suits came to his door and said, "We would like you to come with us." And he said, "I have a lot of weapons. You know, are you threatening me? Are you forcing me to go with you?" And they said, "Absolutely not. We're aware of your background. We're aware of who you are. And we would just like the chance to talk to you." So these 5 or 6 guys had a limousine waiting outside or some kind of bigger car, and they took him to an undisclosed location. When he got there, there was no messing around. They got out a 3-ring binder, and they said to Drake, "We would like you to read this and give us your feedback on this plan since you've been in the military for over 25 years. They set the 3-ring binder in front of Drake, and he said, "There's no way I'm staying here to read all of this." And they said, "Listen, we'll get you anything you want. You can sleep here. We'll get you a bed if you want. Whatever food you want, we'll order it. You want coffee, you want tea, whatever you want, we'll get it for you. We just want you to give it a chance." And Drake said, "There's basically no way in hell I'm reading this 300 pages of information." And the guy said, "Well, actually, it's 500 pages of information." And he said, what is this about? And they told him that the 3-ring binder with 500 pages of information that was written in, this plan started in the 1980s. It was called the plan. And essentially what it was the takedown of the elites and the deep state and the very strategic 500-page dissertation on how it was going to be done. So he says, no, I don't want coffee. I don't want food. I'm not going to be here that long. Am I free to go? Can I just leave? And they said, yes, you can leave, but could you please just read a little bit of the plan? And if you don't want to read anymore, we'll take you back to your house. So he read about 10 or 15 pages, and keep in mind, I'm trying to keep this straight because it was at least 11 years ago. So Drake read about 15, 20 pages of this, and he said, I would like some Danish and several cups of coffee, a pot of coffee, if you expect me to get through this information. So he stayed there for who knows how long and read all 500 pages of the plan that was written sometime in the 80s about how we were going to take down the deep state, cabal, Illuminati, secret government, manipulators, whatever you want to call them. And I wanted to start with that because I don't want to backtrack too much, or I literally could be here forever. I remember talking to beings in the crib, but it was really around 12 years old that I started knowing right before people were going to die. I started knowing when major events were going to happen, and I started seeing the scenario that we've been living from 2019 until now. However, since these visions and messages and foreshadowing about our future started when I was 12, by 2018, I called a friend and I said, you know, for me, this has been 30 years already, almost 35 years. I've heard this was going to happen. I've seen this was going to happen, the whole scenario. Now, take what I say with a grain of salt, because the whole scenario that's happened from 2019 up until basically now, by 2018, I thought it was not going to happen. Now, the things that I saw, the messages that I received, the visions that I had were all around the narrative that started in the year of 2019, okay? The one thing that I was not given, not told, and I did not see, I was not privy to, that this all revolved around a virus. So in September of 2018, I called a friend and I said, you know, I've been seeing these scary scenarios since I was 12. It's 2018. How old would I have been in 2018? I don't know, 47, 48. And I said to that person, we must have changed timelines. I guess none of these things are going to happen that I've seen my whole life. It was so weird. And the only thing, I mean, I knew we could change timelines, and I know we have, in vernacular ways, changed timelines multiple times, but seeing it when I was 12, getting to 2018 and saying to myself, and then calling someone and saying, I don't believe this scenario is ever going to happen. So that was September of 2018. So October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 months after I gave up and just decided none of this was going to happen. Hello, Carol. How are you? We must be on a different timeline. We skipped all the crappy shit that I saw. That's amazing. And then 6 months later, I was at work in a flower shop when they forced us to watch the news, and he started talking about the shutdown, and I went, ha, and everybody looked at me like I was the devil. But what was flashing before me was this was the way these visions and messages came to me that I knew all of the things that went along with this. I knew the lockdowns, I knew the food problems, I knew the shortage of electronics, I knew the lying government, the falsification of stories on the news. I knew all of it. I didn't know it came under the guise of a virus. So when we were forced to watch the mayor here give a speech on the virus and the shutdown, I chuckled because that was just my reaction to everything. Like I said, 6 months prior to this, I decided we must have skipped, we must have gotten on this beautiful timeline. None of these crazy things are going to happen that I've been seeing happen for 35 years. So that part in itself was a trip, because we know 6 months later, that's when the whole thing started. So what I want to do now is run through some things in physical reality that have been written and published through media, social ground media, underground media, and social media. I'm not used to sitting on this stool and it's driving me crazy. So let's start with this. I'm starting with the information that comes from media, underground media, social media. Okay, so we're going to start with that. I believe it was the 25th. I probably won't get all these dates right on this stuff. Around between the 25th and the 29th of January, Trump ordered a media blackout at every federal health agency. That's the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and the HHS. They cannot publish any scientific report. They can talk to each other. The agency can remain open. If it's even open, I'm not sure, because they're kind of skimming the top when they give us information, okay? So, but they cannot publish scientific reports. They cannot update health websites. They cannot issue health advisories. This is an all communications freeze at every federal health agency in the United States, okay? And along with the fact that they can't publish scientific reports, they can't update health websites, and they can't issue health advisories, they are also not allowed to do any fear mongering whatsoever. I believe that happened January 22nd. Now, please remember, if you've been following me for the past year and a half, I've been talking about the Marburg, I've been talking about COVID-19, I've been talking about a multitude of things. And what I have been telling you for the past 15 or 16 months is they're gonna bring about another pandemic, or they're gonna try to keep COVID going, okay? The health blackout in this nation is to prevent that from happening, okay? I think I want to come back to that, but that's probably not a good idea. Okay, and I am going to try to remember to tell you when this is the news and when it's me. So the only story that we saw on Friday night was about the CDC being shut down, and both of us fervently went on our cell phones and were trying to confirm whether it was true or not. If you go to the CDC website, which is the only one I went to, it'll say right on the header, in compliance with Trump's executive orders or something like that, there are being changes to comply with President Trump. Okay, that's basically what it says. Now you can go on there, it's up and running. When you click on multiple things on there, it'll tell you the same thing. There are no updates. We are trying to reorganize the site to be in compliance with Trump's executive orders, something like that, okay? Okay, so the next thing that I saw was the plane crash, okay? When I watched the 30-second video or 20-second video, all I saw was the plane and the helicopter going exactly right at the plane, right? Helicopters can move side to side, go up and down on half a millisecond's notice. I'm exaggerating. They can move very quickly up and down. They could have easily moved out of the way. The flight tower was saying, do you see the plane? Do you see the plane? Can you hear me? What the fuck is going on? And no response, okay? So all I saw was a video of the Black Hawk helicopter heading directly straight at the plane. When it exploded, moments before it exploded, I saw that there was nobody in there, okay, and that it was remotely driven. Now, in case you're not aware of this, cars, planes, trains, if you remember the barge accident that happened somewhere around Egypt several years ago, ships, everything can be, especially military equipment and cars, I believe, built after 2008, can all be remotely controlled, okay? So I saw the plane, I saw the helicopter head towards the plane. Vehicles, yes. So all I saw was Black Hawk hit the plane. Millisecond before that, I saw that there was nobody in the helicopter. I saw the explosion, and it was a really short video, maybe 15 seconds. And then somebody on the ground who you couldn't see was saying the Potomac River is like 30 degrees or 32 degrees. We have to get search and rescue immediately because anyone that hit the water would be faced with hypothermia in a matter of minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, the plane just blew to smithereens, and he's thinking about looking for survivors, which of course we want them to do, but it was just really strange. So Black Hawk hits the plane. I see just before it that there's no one in it, that it was being remotely controlled. And then the guy on the ground said something about dredging the Potomac River. The video was over. I looked at John, the guy I was helping move, and I said, isn't this area around the Ronald Reagan Airport one of the most highly secured airports on this planet? And he said, yes. I looked back at my phone and I heard, and this is me, this is what I heard. This is a warning to Trump. Look how close we can get to you. Okay. If you remember, I made a video about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it was called Drones Over Jersey, Tribal Justice for 12. If you haven't seen that, that's really, really important. And I made a video 3 weeks ago telling you that something shocking was about to happen. Actually, multiple shocking things were about to happen. So remember that I said I was having a conversation with my dad. He asked me about the drones. I knew nothing about it. And I said, let's go to MonkeyWorks. I'll just send you whatever the first video is on his channel. And that way you can look and see if there's any information about the drones. As soon as I went there, the title of MonkeyWorks video that day was Drones Over Jersey. And when I clicked at it, I told you guys this before, sometimes when I read articles, books, anything, words will jump out of me or certain words will be highlighted. When I saw the title, when I clicked on the title, Drones Over Jersey, I said DOJ, Department of Justice. This is about the Department of Justice. Now, let me share something with you really quick. How do you and I speak to each other? On the phone, through social media, 10 ways till Sunday, and we know we're surveilled, right? But our surveillance is nothing compared to their surveillance. The only reason I told you about the interview with David Wilcock and Drake Bailey is so that you would know that there is a 500-page plan that has been out there, kind of, so to speak, in the works since the 80s, okay? And the reason why I shared that with you is because this is all controlled. This is all controlled demolition, okay? I told you when I talked about it in that video, the drones over Jersey, I said everything that you're seeing, just because you're seeing a bunch of drones over Jersey, doesn't mean it has anything to do with drones, doesn't mean has anything to do with Jersey, doesn't mean anything. We know, in fact, that there's a 500-page plan. We know, in fact, that we are somewhere between the middle and 60% into the plan, maybe a little higher at this moment. It's happening much faster than I thought it was going to. Now, what I said to you when the drones were over Jersey is just let's not look at Jersey, let's not look at the drones. That's because, you guys, the 500-page plan, the issue is Scott can just call me and tell me what's going on in Arizona. I can call Scott and tell him what's going on in Ohio. These people at this point, strategically in the chess game, do not have the option of picking up the phone or sending an email and say, okay, it's time for page 10, plan A, okay? Or backup plan 2 or backup plan 10 or whatever it is. They don't have that. And what I told you in that video from December was that drones over Jersey was a symbolic message. And the symbolism and the meaning of that was drones over Jersey. And so what they're doing now, there are terrorist attacks and there are false flags and there are everything thrown in here too. But most all of what you're seeing, minus those terrorist attacks, are them speaking back and forth to each other about where we are and what part of the plan we are at. And I told you in December, drones over Jersey meant Department of Justice, okay? So, Department of Justice, what's going on in the Department of Justice? I cannot remember the guy's name. I have it written down here somewhere. Michael somebody. You guys, so thinking in 2018, 6 months before the C-19 happened, that I was sick of it. The election had been stolen. I was over it. I haven't looked at, watched, or read anything in the news, underground news, anything since 2021. Now, every once in a while, and I appreciate this very much, you guys send me a piece of information that you think super important, and I do look at that or I do read that. But most of you guys are not sending me anything anymore anyway. Now, what is this guy's dang name? Okay, so drones over Jersey, I told you it was a message. Department of Justice was the message. That's what I told you in the middle of December. Okay, so fired employees in the Department of Justice. Okay, there were 12 of them as of 4 or 5 days ago. Who knows what the count is today? But the guy that was heading the entire thing, Michael Horowitz, plus 12 other people, IG, Michael Horowitz, 12 plus, it could be 50 people now, have been fired from the Department of Justice, okay? And again, just showing you, just reiterating back to you that I said, when we're looking at these incidents, we can't take these incidents at face value, because one thing is it's them talking to the other, okay? So if you've got drones over Jersey, DOJ, that's them talking to, okay, it's time to clean out the Department of Justice. You see what I'm saying? You can't take everything literal. Next piece of news that actually comes from the news and is verifiable. I'm not going to go into my resources or the places I found information or any of that, because I'll be here forever. 17 federal watchdogs were fired January 29th, okay? The U.S. Treasury was putting through every money transfer that came through, even including terrorist money and transactions they knew were fraudulent. Okay? This is huge. Our United States Treasury was putting through every single money transfer that came through the Department of Treasury, including not just suspected terrorist funds. The Treasury was putting through every single money transfer, even knowing that some of these money transactions came directly from terrorist groups, and putting through every transaction that was even known to be fraudulent, okay? So the DOJE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, started combing through this and looking at this, and they saw that they had not denied any transfer, whether it was to terrorist or known fraudulent activity. And what they discovered is, what they say they discovered is that this has been happening for 22 straight years, okay? So 22 straight years would put us back where? 2004, 2003, sometime around 2003. As I was writing down that the Department of Governmental Efficiency was combing through and found out that it's been going on for 20 years, I saw the plane hit the building and said, this started happening the day after 9/11. So that comes from me. The day after 9/11, they just started pushing every money transfer through the U.S. Treasury, whether it was known to be terrorist or fraudulent or what, they pushed it through and they didn't care. Next, USDA Inspector General Phyllis Fong was in the position where she was in charge of the entire United States food supply and had executive control over every single agency that regulated our nation's food supply. She was fired. She refused to leave, and she was shortly escorted out by security. And she was saying that it was unjust and illegal because she had to be given 30 days notice, and the Congress had to vote on it and all this crap. And Trump said, no, you're gone. And so security ended up carrying her out pretty much. Okay. Now, I just found out, and I wanted to make this video Sunday, but after all these planes started crashing, I was worried about making this video and getting on a plane. Okay. But I'm like, if I don't do it soon, I'm going to have 10 times more information to report. Okay. So Phyllis Fong, in charge of every single operation, every aspect, every department, executive control, every single agency that regulates the United States food supply, was fired. She refused to leave. She was taken out by security. And then I found out tonight, as I was looking up what the JAG meant, I found out that the JAG actually arrested her minutes after she was escorted out of the building. Okay. Next layer of news. We are set to, or probably already are, attacking the Mexican drug cartel. Now, one of the things, and this is the reason I have to stay off Facebook, I saw this big, sorrowful, tearful post about what is going on in Canada and how the big orange rapist man, which is the only thing that people watch the news ever say about our president, and all the problems he was creating with Canada. And I made it a comment, and I know better than this, guys. I really do. I haven't really been commenting on anything on social media for a couple years, unless it's some of you guys sharing your good news or something. I made a comment and I said, the problem here lies in the fact that you have done zero research. This is not a war between Canada and the United States. It's not a war between Canada and Russia. It's not a war between the United States and Russia, and it's not a war between Russia and the Ukraine. It's an all-out systemic takedown of the deep state. And she came back and she was even more confused than ever. So I just kind of gracefully said goodbye and unfriended. I can't, it's different if someone's asking for help, but there's so many people. Like there's this huge picture, right? There's this 500-page plan, and what people are focusing on is little things that cause them to be in a state of festivity. Now, I want to tell you, whether it's a false flag, whether it's a terrorist attack, or whether it's part of the 500-page plan, every single time there is an incident, it's going to look like this. here's your incident, okay? So let's say this incident is the helicopter plane crash, okay? Instead of talking about how in the hell could this happen in the most secure airspace on the planet, they have all these little sidebar stories. So every story that you're hearing, such as the plane helicopter crash, is going to have 3 or 4 underlining stories in it. This person was a lesbian. This person was a woman. This person didn't have that much flight experience, right? It goes on and on and on. Now, why are they doing that? Because if you and I are going to argue about, oh, well, women are not as good, they're not as good militarily, they're not as strategic, they can't fly a plane as good as a man, or it's transgender. Even if the person driving, if there was a person driving, which I know there wasn't, even if it was an elephant, the plane was in an airspace it shouldn't have been, should have been listening to the control tower, but it wasn't. That's because it was intentional. But if they keep us fighting over whether women can be as good a pilots as men, whether her transgender had anything to do with this, then they started saying that, oh, well, she was not really an experienced pilot. She was just kind of, just kind of a training mission. I'm sorry, you don't do a training mission at the most guarded, secure airport on the planet. Think about this. So in order for you to not look up here at what could possibly be happening with the plane and with the helicopter, they're giving you all these stories, not that experienced, right? She's a woman. That could have something to do with her agility or movability or her military capabilities. Oh, she's transgender. It gives you 3 or 4 topics for everyone to argue about instead of looking at how in the hell could this possibly happen, okay? And like I said, what I heard when I put my phone down was, this is a warning to Trump. Look how close we can get, okay? There was nobody in that plane. But are you going to look at the fact that there was nobody in that plane? I'm sure some of you thought about it, thought about the remote demolition. Everything that's happening is part of the plan. Again, there are some false flags thrown in there. There are incidents that are not part of the plan. The majority of what is happening is the plan, okay? So where are we here? Anybody that was in the FBI or the Department of Justice that got fired was totally locked out of their screen system, meaning if they had personal emails in there, if they had personal notes, whatever they had in there, they have 0 access. Any government employee who has been fired since Trump took office can never, ever be in a federal building again. Why is that a big deal? Oh, well, I just got fired from the Department of Justice, so now I'll just go, work for another arm of the government. No. When he said, you're fired or arrested, whichever the case may be, because both is going on, no, you can never be in a post office or a library or any federal building for the rest of your existence in the United States. Okay, so these people that are fired can't just go get another job, a government job, because they're never allowed to be in a federal building. So every little thing that you're seeing has a layer of 5 or 10 other reactions to it. Now, with them shutting down the health websites, I don't know how much I want to go into this. I'm already here 40 minutes. With them shutting down health websites, that means they can't give updates on that. That means your records are in there that's tied to the hospital. Think about the ramifications of how far this goes with all those national health websites that are not allowed to post, they're not allowed to publish anything related to health, and they're not allowed to fearmonger, okay? DOJ and federal services locked out of their computer system, access denied, right? Now, one thing that they are working on, this is what I heard, this is not me, no more vaccinations effective immediately until every single vaccination can be studied and reevaluated. That's on the table right now. That's their goal. I just got home yesterday. I have not had the time to look into it or see where we are on any of that. Okay. But I'm just asking you to remember that it's not like our communication. They cannot call each other. They cannot email each other. They cannot say it's time for, part of the plan number 12 at 3:00. They have to send a drone. Something has to happen. Okay. So these things are set to happen in a chronological order so that they know, okay, we started clearing out the Department of Justice, drones over Jersey. Now we move to whatever step is next under that. Okay. And that's how this is going. Now, if you've been following me for the last 14, 15 months, you know that as of since August 2023, you know that I have been saying they are planning another pandemic. Now, I saw something locally from my brother's girlfriend in Ohio that said 30% of the population of the school was out sick. And another private school in the area had only one or two teachers show up for the entire school, so they had to go in the gym. Now, sometime about 2 weeks ago, I was doing my deep breathing exercises, and I saw the chemtrails up there, but I walk almost every other day in chemtrails, and I can't stop walking. I can never stop walking. I came home, and within 4 hours after this, I went to sleep, and I was asleep for 2 days. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I didn't go to the bathroom, I didn't do anything for 2 days. My body was overheating. I didn't feel sick at all. I was just sweating, tossing and turning for 2 days. The only reason I even knew how long I was asleep is because my neighbor texted me on day 2 and asked me if I was okay. And I knew I had gone to visit my friend Lynn on Thursday, and now it's Saturday, and I had been asleep for 2 days. After that, I started to get a respiratory infection. Okay. There are many of us that won't take the bait, won't fall for the trap, won't take the medication, and won't get the shots. So they have decided about 3 weeks ago to start spraying something in the air that causes something bronchial. I don't know what name we're putting on it. I've been saying since August 2023, they're going to try to do this again. Okay, so just as something cold-like or flu-like was happening, and I didn't know until after the fact, they shut down every national website to keep the health organizations from falsifying virus numbers, falsifying stats, creating fear, all of it. Okay, so people start getting sick everywhere. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, right around the time I got sick. And immediately, all national health websites were taken off the air. Now, the reason that I knew originally is because I've been, like I said, seeing these visions since I was about 12 years old. Trump knows or has been briefed on the fact of their plan of another pandemic, okay? So just as a couple weeks into people getting sick, Trump shut down every national health website. Okay. And the reason he did it is because he knew it was coming. And what he was trying to do was stop them from creating another lockdown situation. I'm sure there are people out there panicking. Oh my God, I can't have my virus information updates every 24 seconds. But we all know what they were using all of those NIH, FDA, CDC, HHS websites for, okay? And they can't, okay? If the health sites, all the national health sites, if they can't report pandemic information, if they can't publish papers on viruses, bird flus, anything, if they can't give medical updates, if they can't give virus information and updates, there is no fear mongering. If they can't produce any of that stuff, Like I said, they can talk amongst themselves, but what this blackout is no external communication, period. I hope you understand how big this is. And I hope you understand how this works. Now, when I say they are doing this, they want a second pandemic, the government, okay? It's a faction of the government or those pulling strings in the government, not the government as a whole. Trump and the White House are aware of the plan to play the pandemic lockdown card again, and they're not going to let it happen. This is the reason he shut every national health website down. You absolutely have to look at and understand how all of these things are completely and totally connected. Now I'm going to go into my clairaudience, my clairsentience, and all the things that came through. Now, when this information started, all I had was the national health websites being shut down and the plane crash. And then the next morning, this is what I started seeing and hearing. If the health websites cannot update information, the news has no medical news. The news has nothing to report on, and the news has nothing to fearmonger on. Okay, so John, when I was helping him move, he said something to me about the WHO, and that the WHO is the World Health Organization. Okay, so some may think that the World Health Organization is separate from all these other things. And as far as shutting the websites down, the WHO is not technically belong to the United States. Technically, it is for the whole world, right? So on that technicality, last I knew as of January 29th or February 1st, the WHO website is not shut down. But what I want to tell you is, this is the WHO right here, okay? Now, if this is the WHO, they are the umbrella which holds every health subsidiary. So this is the WHO. Underneath the umbrella, we have the we have the FDA, the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and the HHS. They are all under this. All of everything comes from the World Health Organization and trickles into these other things. And I did tell you that I would try to let you know whether that was it was the news that made the news or the news that didn't make the news. Now, that is not something I've read, looked up, heard, whatever. I just know that. The WHO can't operate without the CDC. Well, yeah, the World Health Organization has, and you see that's where when the national health blackout goes back to 1, no fear mongering, and 2, no external. So all of those, FDA, CDC, HHS, NIH, they can all communicate with each other, but they can't publish anything, they can't discuss anything, they can't post any stats on their websites. So yes, they're all connected. So yes, what would the World Health Organization would not have anything unless they're doing their own independent research. And as far as I know, like I said, they're completely connected. The World Health Organization is the umbrella which houses the NIH, the HHS, the FDA, and the CDC. So that means the WHO also has nothing to report. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, Rennie. That makes so much sense. I see that I'm losing people. I can't help it. I knew that this was going to be long. Oh, wait, we went from 1 person up to 5. I have no idea what's going on with this channel anymore. The other piece of information that I got was that the FEMA camps had been raided. All of the information there within computers, etc., they were raided, they were shut down. All of the information was taken to a safe location, and all assets were frozen for FEMA worldwide. Can I confirm that? Of course I cannot. I did a tarot reading specifically on it. And when I did that reading, you guys, I was so nervous that it ended up being twice as long as it needed to be. Now, very interestingly to me, the video was 32 minutes and 10 seconds. What is that? 3, 2, 1, 0. That is the countdown. How appropriate. Because I was extremely nervous about sharing that information, about doing that particular reading. And you guys know I don't usually do tarot on this channel anyway. There are some videos from 3 years ago that were exported when my son exported and downloaded everything from Facebook over here to YouTube, but I don't just come on here and do tarot on here. But I did because I knew, John said, well, there's no way that we're going to be able to prove this or not. And what I said to him is, if they're saying the DOJ or the FBI was cleared out, then that means it probably happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Every single thing is a military operation that comes out of that 500-page plan. So when they're telling you, when they're delivering the news, is when the plan has been executed and that particular thing is over, okay? So thank you, Rennie, for saying that. Now back to where I was. If the CDC and the FDA and all these national health websites cannot publish any information, do any fear mongering or share any virus data or any virus updates, what will the news media ever do with themselves, right? They don't have any medical news. They have zero because they have nothing to reference. They can't just go on the news and start making shit up. I mean, we already know they do. It's all lies. But if they said anything, it would be speculation, right? Now, this is very important, speculation, okay? So the news media is strictly using these websites for their talking points, their skewed data, their fake data, and their fear-mongering. Whatever is coming directly from the health organizations to bring you the news is coming from those sites that are not allowed to have any external communication with the United States. Now, this is the part that I want to tell you. I'm not doing too bad. Let me see how much I got left here. Oh, for the love of God. Okay, so now this is when the visions, clairaudience, clairvoyance, all of that started coming in. Yeah, lack of news. Okay, so this is what I started seeing and hearing. Parts of the US government knew that the pandemic was coming. They were informed. For those who haven't been here for a while, when I lived with my brother and his 5 kids, there was a show we watched every Sunday. I don't even remember what it was. It was a treehouse show or something like that, or some tiny home show or something like that. The whole family was into it. Right after that show was a show called The Apprentice, which starred Donald Trump. This would have been 2015 that I'm referring to. I don't know how long it was on. It was 2015 when I saw him. So because that show was, The Apprentice was on after the show we watched, I think it was every Sunday, I saw a few minutes of that show a couple times. That is the literal only reason I knew who Donald Trump was. Otherwise, I would have had no idea who Donald Trump was if it wasn't for his show being after the show that my entire family watched on Sunday. Okay, so in 2015, when I left, when I moved out of living with my brother and 20 million kids, when I moved out, got my own apartment, I was there for about a week. I was working my butt off, and I sat down to take a break for a minute, and I saw what I can only describe as Secret Service Now, I didn't get the gist that they were necessarily from this planet, even though they look completely human like you and I. We both know there's a bunch of races that are not exactly like us that look like they could pass for us. There were, I would say, about 6 or 7 men that showed up dressed like they were going to some formal black tie event. And they showed up to where Trump was. So 6 or 7 guys showed up to where Trump was. I saw these guys and then Trump standing right next to him. And they transported him. Now, when I say transported him, I don't know if they teleported him or if they gave him a ride somewhere, because I saw 6 or 7 guys and the guy from The Apprentice standing next to him. Had no clue who Trump was other than that. And they said, "Hey, can we talk to you?" And he said yes. And as soon as he said yes, they were transported somewhere to a soundproof room where I was watching these 6 or 7 men take turns giving Donald Trump a brief summation about what was going on in the world with the deep state. Okay, they were giving, I couldn't hear anything. It was completely soundproof. So why was I seeing this? I certainly was never trying to tap into anything political, and I've never tried to tap into military or politics. So I see 6 or 7 men in a soundproof. It was more than soundproof. You guys know how not tech savvy I am. It was soundproof. It was Wi-Fi proof. There was no way to pick up a signal, whatever you call that. So since it was, I could not hear what was being said. All I saw was these 6 or 7 men, each taking time to give Donald Trump some information. When they were all done talking, Trump was standing there like that. And then all of a sudden at the end, the sound got turned on. So all of those men giving Donald Trump a briefing, I could tell by looking at them, by the way they were talking, by their mannerisms, that they were military and they were briefing him. I don't even know that they were military of this planet. Like I said, I had a feeling they were not our, I had a feeling they were part of the interstellar alliance. Let's put it that way. Okay. So at the end of the briefing, the sound got turned on for me. They all took their turn briefing. Trump was there with his mouth open. The sound got turned on and they said, "Due to this information, would you please run for president?" Now, you guys, I was confused as hell. I'm like, why did some space program or some white hat alliance, spaceship, white hat, whatever they were, alliance, why did they pick up the guy from The Apprentice? I was beyond confused. All I could think the whole time I was watching these guys briefing him, the only thing I could think was, "You're fired." And I'm like, why did they pick up Donald Trump? I had no clue. And like I said, the briefing lasted, it was kind of like in fast forward, so I would get the idea. So it felt like the briefing lasted probably 3 or 4 hours, but the vision of the briefing only lasted about 10 or 15 minutes. At the end of the military information, the sound was turned back on, and I heard them say, "Will you please run for president?" And he laughed. To all those people, and I doubt anybody watching this channel has this view, but why would someone with that much money and that much real estate and a happy life and a happy wife and, you know, rolling in money, you don't need this job. Why would you take on the biggest headache on the entire planet? Why doesn't anybody think about this? And he hasn't taken any money. He didn't take any money in his first term. He's not taking any money now. And he's not taking any bribe money. But why can't people even just look at that for a second and say, wait a second, maybe there's somebody that wants to fix this planetary bullshit. And if you say, well, it's not planetary, Tina, it's only the United States. Well, that's bullshit too, because we know that the secret government It's just like the WHO, the World Health Organization, right? All these other little government agencies just fall underneath them. So there you go. Now, back to what I saw. Yeah, all of a sudden the world is healthy. Okay, so here's the thing though. And people say, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I want to be able to see where I can get a vaccination, or I want to see what the numbers are, or whatever. Okay. If you have a cold, start resting, start drinking lemon water, and start making ginger tea. It's that simple. Like we've done for the million years we've been on this planet. We get out our lemon, we get out our ginger, we rest, and we take it easy. Okay. And that's what people are going to have to do, because they're not going to have anybody to tell them, oh my God, you're sick, you're dying, and everybody in your state is dying. There's 1 million cases in your state alone. Oh my God. That's what they're doing. Now, let me get to the part that I saw and heard that doesn't have anything to do with the news. This is all me. The reason why I went back to that scenario, and that was 2015, so it was before the 2016 election, they asked him to run, what I saw, they asked him to run 13 months prior to the actual election. Okay, that's not that much time at all. That's why they were giving him a massive briefing. Okay, but I wanted to tell you that as far as those briefings go, whoever those people are that briefed him, there is a room somewhere that looks similar to a padded cell. I've never been in one, so how would I know? It looks similar to a padded cell, but it was nothing could penetrate, no surveillance could penetrate it. Let's put it that way. Okay, so in the same way, when they want to communicate, now keep in mind that this is a total pain in the butt. And this is why this 500-page plan is being carried out by Department of Justice, being shown to you as drones over Jersey, DOJ, Department of Justice. Things are happening this way because at the rate things are changing, there's no way that they can go to this secure room where nothing could be eavesdropped on every single time. They've got to say, okay, we're ready with step 14, okay? Now, before I'm here for 5 hours, let me tell you what I began to see and hear, how this plays out. Parts of the government knew the pandemic was being planned. Shutting down the health websites nationwide was to stop them. Cutting them off just shortly before they could roll out this plan. Before they could create another reenactment of what happened with C-19, they shut it down. This is a military operation, as I have been telling you for the past 2 years. This time, now I say we because many of you here are part of a galactic super consciousness, meaning you carry around with you certain codes, and when you go places, you disseminate that energy and also that information. So we are part of this, okay? This is a military operation. Only this time, you and I, we, the White House, the White Hats, the coalition here to change this planet are 5 steps ahead of the other team. They're 5 steps ahead of Black Ops, okay? Remember that part of this medical blackout of information and external communication includes, but is not limited to, fear-mongering, their favorite thing, okay? Now, let me tell you what I've seen and how this plays out. No, and I mean 0 comms from any of these agencies. They've cut off, they've got nothing. They can't publish anything, they can't post anything. This is very important for you to understand. I have no idea if I have the exact recipe for this. And as a disclaimer, there will be more things in this. There'll be different things from this, and it may not be in exact order, but this is what I saw. Shut down the health websites. In shutting down the websites for the health, they're really, really, really pressing on all those organizations. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Total panic. I don't have anything to report. So what do you think they're going to do, right? The news channels, this is just a feeling. I'm not positive about this, but the news channels will still talk about it. National health websites get down, shut down, zero external communication. And then the news media, what are they going to do? They're going to talk about it. I'm guessing they're going to talk about it because I saw them talking about it, planning about it, because there's no other way to bring fear to the people. They will have lost complete and total control of their planned narrative because the news media is the only way left now that these sites are shut down to control the people. They will not go down with a fight without a fight. The news media is their only stronghold left on the planet for communication. They still have military. That's very obvious. We saw Black Hawk hit a plane in the most secured runway, close to the most secured runway on the entire planet. They do have military. But they can do many, many things militarily without us seeing. Or even if people are videoing and talking about it, we can't prove exactly who it was. We can't prove exactly when it was. We can't prove exactly who the perpetrators were. The news media is the only way left they have to control the people. The military itself and what their actions are on both sides are not controlling the people. The news media is the only thing they have left, and they're not going to go down without a fight. The media is their only stronghold left. They are not going to concede. I'm telling you. They're not going to concede. They're not going to come on and start talking about kittens and trees or friendly neighbors or giving you fluff stories. So what are they going to do? I'm going to tell you right now. First step, shut down the health agencies and stop all external communication. Second, put the pressure on the news media, and the news media is going to screw it up. Okay? And it's all intentional. They're going to push the envelope. The news media is going to push the envelope in a direction that is in violation of the FCC. This is a trap, and it's part of the plan. Now, I know many of you have heard that there could possibly be like television, radio, social media blackout. There is going to be. Now, can I guarantee that? No. Do I know when it's happening? Not for sure. This is what I saw. Now, it could be that things change and this is not necessary, but that I would say that is a slight chance. They are going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. The media is going to push the envelope in a direction that is in direct violation with FCC regulations. This is a trap. This is intentional. This is controlled demolition. Squash the medical websites and silence them so that the only way left to fearmonger and spread panic is through media and social media. This is being done to push the media's buttons. And not so much to push the media's buttons, but those who control the media. And we know those are controlled by one or two people, which goes back to everything's one conglomerate umbrella and everything else trickles underneath that. It's being done to push the media's buttons, or the controllers, the people who control the media, are pushing their buttons on purpose to give them a reason, to give them the story, to where they will put themselves in direct violation with the FCC so that they can shut them down and take them off the air. They're pressuring media and social media to break rules and break regulations and purposely violate information and what is the right word I'm looking for? They are pushing them to violate FCC regulations so then they can say, then Trump can say, you violated FCC regulations. You're going off the air. I don't know how much money it would cost him to go off the air for 48 hours, but I'm guessing it's millions of dollars of advertising revenue. Now, I don't know how long it's going to be off. I know that they're pushing them to purposely get them to violate FCC regulations so then they can flip the switch and we can go dark on media and social media. This is them being taken off the air. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the media blackout comes in. Most of you knew at some point that a media blackout was coming, and this is it. Wow, it was 11111 on my timer as I said that. Wake up call. Okay. Try not to be so slow. I'm usually like, I always rewatch my videos, and the first couple of years I was like, God, you talk so fast, you got to slow down. No one will be able to understand or keep up with you. Now I feel like I'm doing the opposite. Okay, so once they push the buttons and get themselves in violation with the FCC, it's all going to be taken down. Now, they're doing this on purpose. They're not doing this on purpose because they don't like Fox News, they don't like ABC News, and they rather watch Russell Brand, who has, I think, 5 million viewers, which is probably 3 million more than they have. They're not doing that so that you'll go somewhere else. They're not doing that because they really want to say, oh, we're going to slap you on the hand, you're in trouble with the FCC, and you can come back on the air when you're regulated. When I say this is a military plan, this is absolute controlled demolition, okay? So now we're in trouble with the FCC. What do? Oh, shit, we're being shut down. Oh, shit, the airwaves have gone black. Now what are we going to do? When the media goes dark, when social media goes dark, that's when the things that you've heard about happening for a very long time are going to happen. If they went into a federal building and shut that federal building down and arrested 100 people, what do you think would happen? CNN would say, oh, look at the orange man rapist. He's on another tirade doing more illegal things. We should impeach him. It's a headache, okay? Nothing illegal is being done here. He doesn't want to have to deal with the headache, and that's why he's doing it in the order he's doing it. Whoever, this was not Trump's plan, you guys, okay? They picked him up and asked him to run for president, okay? It happened twice. So either way, that's how it's going down. Okay, so when the social media blackout happens, that's when the serious stuff begins. Not only do they not want CNN and NBC and Fox and everybody else giving disinformation, they don't want Tina, David Wilcock, Drake Bailey, Rennie, whoever else is out there speaking, writing things about this. They don't want any information going around when it gets to what I'll call the climax of this scenario, okay? Well, when the lights go out, that's when the serious stuff begins. We have already seen some, firings, some indictments, and some people being arrested. They will not do the serious cleanouts, firing, demolition. I'm not going to go into what that entails. They're not going to do that when the media is up. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I started seeing. And I know I'm a couple of days late. This all happened to me between January 1st and January 29th and February 1st is when I saw all of this happening. Okay. So like I said, that could change. Lights go out, media's down, social media's down. That's when the real shit hits the fan. They don't want to take a chance on anybody doing anything to, there could be another way to do it, because within this plan, and Drake Bailey didn't share that plan, but within this plan, there was a plan. And then, well, if this doesn't work out, or if this doesn't coordinate, or somehow something gets sabotaged, then we do this. Okay, so none of these things are in stone. This is just how I saw it. Okay. Yeah, they're not going to do the serious stuff when the media is up and running. The major reason for that is individual people. I can't believe I didn't see how much this was going on until till North Carolina and the hurricane came through. But there are a lot of people giving disinformation just for ratings and just for subscriptions to their channel, which was absolutely unbelievable, absolutely sickening. Okay. They're not going to do it, like I said, when media and social media is up, because people on social media and the mainstream media is going to do everything they can to intentionally put the population into panic mode. And then they're going to completely lie about what's happening, who's doing it, what's really going on. They're going to lie about everything. Okay. So we stopped the pandemic by silencing all external communications with every national health organization. The media will pick up the dirty work, so to speak, of those agencies. They will put themselves in FCC violation. They will get shut down. They will be in violation, get themselves shut down, and the mass arrest scenario then begins. The EBS, emergency broadcast system, will happen. Will it happen the moment they do their first raid on the drug cartels or their first raid of a federal building? I don't necessarily know that they will. Once they start doing things in areas where someone like me could start videotaping it, which I don't go out and do the news like that. But if there's going to be a scenario, once they get into the crescendo of this, if you will, where there are things happening in the streets, kind of, they will want to make sure that nobody is filming it, right? So when the major stuff is about to hit the fan, after the lights go out, the emergency broadcast system will come on. And I started hearing the emergency broadcast come on in 2018, and in 2021, after the stolen election, and the pandemic, working for 4 years on almost everybody I knew, I was at my wit's end. That's why I decided, you know what, I'm not watching it. I'm not listening to it. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's never going to freaking happen. When it started happening on Friday night, I was like, yeah, right, this isn't really happening. Went straight to CDC, and I was like, wow, it's finally, because I felt like it was happening. But you guys know I've been reporting on this for 3 years, and finally it's happening. The emergency broadcast system will be sometime, I think it's going to be right before the news media goes off the air. Okay, so they may come on and say, I don't know, the FCC could shut down news outlets. They would have to find a reason to shut social media down, so that people that are not on mainstream would also not be able to report as well. How I see this transpiring, though, is that the emergency broadcast system will either come on right before the television goes dark, or sometime very shortly after. We'll have somewhat of a generic, very friendly message. Hi, this is a message from President Trump. The message will be something along the lines of, we need the assistance of the public. Stay inside. Please do not involve yourselves in the military operation that's happening. Everything is going to be fine, but we want you to be safe. Okay, I've been hearing that since 2018, so that's basically it. Now, how long have I been here? Oh, no, that's not too bad. I thought I was going to be here like 3 hours. Are you guys still here or what? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Good. Okay, so there's a whole lot of fear being pushed. So we still have media, we still have social media, every single thing. Now, I knew just you and the chickens. Oh, well, thank you, Rennie, and your chickens for being here. I do appreciate you. Your chickens must be the other 5 viewers. Okay, so if you, in brevity, understand that this is a military operation, and you understand that there is an umbrella, which that umbrella is that event, such as Black Hawk hitting a plane, everything blowing to smithereens, absolutely tragic. But here's your umbrella, and here's all the 3 stories that they're perpetrating, everything down to here's the person that was on the flight. We scrubbed her social media, because you'll be looking at her. You'll be looking for her on social media. You'll be trying to find out if she's transgender. You'll be trying to look at their other stories. Was she really just, out on a flying mission where she was practicing? No, they don't practice over major airports. What an asinine thing to say. So with every event that happens, military, no matter what side of the fence the military action's coming from, there are going to be 3 stories under that umbrella that will get you talking and looking for who the pilot was, looking for all this information to get you off the fact. One, I can't even believe, if it wasn't for someone videotaping it, if it wasn't for the fact that it was on videotape, we wouldn't even have known it was Black Hawk. I'm so surprised that got out, but I guess they couldn't control it because there's cameras everywhere. And if I've learned anything from watching 48 Hours a lot, it is that you don't realize that you can't get away with anything. I don't know if you knew this, but there's a black box in your car that records all your information, right? So if there is a problem at Walmart and you are at Walmart, your car's little black box, just like a plane, your car has a little black box that knows everywhere you went, how long you stopped, what phone calls you made, what gas stations you went to, and everything without using your credit card, okay? I didn't realize surveillance was at that point. I know my personal surveillance has been. That's why I don't hang out with that many people and I don't go out very much. So if you want to really just keep yourself completely and totally sane, just look at it, like I said, in the middle of December. These are messages about where we are, at what point, at what node of the plan we are in, and how they communicate with each other. It's not necessary for you to follow every single event and try to dissect every event, because most of the events, drones over Jersey, and most events like that, now I'm not talking about, the plane crash. That was military action also on the other side. What I'm saying is, in the events where you're looking at drones over Jersey, they didn't do anything, and you're saying, what is this about? Why all the drones? Who really has them? Don't drive yourself crazy with the minutia of all the information. Because what I said in the middle of December was, most of this stuff that is happening is so that they can message back and forth with each other without having to go into a soundproof room. Okay. Now, drones over Jersey, DOJ, time to clean out the DOJ. Next thing. Okay, so don't drive yourself crazy. Also know any kind of story that happens within this military plan on either side of the faction is going to have 3 or 4 stories below that to keep you digging and looking for things that have nothing to do with it. Because not one single story is mentioning the fact that these things have been, are militarily, we all remember when we were children and we had remote controlled, helicopters, whatever. Same deal, okay? But just a really, really, really high tech version of that. So the main part of this military plan, and there are hundreds of umbrellas that fall under this. The main thing is that they, the alliance, and I mean all of the alliance, earthly and non-earthly alliance, are giving the illusion to the deep state that there are two paths, that there is a choice here. They are giving the illusion that they have a choice, that these people have a choice. Like, oh, you can just resign. That'll work, right? Oh, well, we're just going to fire you. Okay, that'll work. They're giving the illusion that these people have a choice, that there are two paths. And what they don't know, because the illusion is strong, right? The media is upholding it. There's so many things going on. There is the illusion here of secrecy, but there aren't any secrets. The alliance knows completely what's going on, and they are 5 steps ahead. They were going to do the pandemic, I would say, sometime between they were going to start it within the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's how we're ahead. Our government, along with the governments, the rest of the world, this is not the United States versus Russia or Japan or Canada. You guys, people have got to stop looking at it that way. All of them are working together, and the biggest part of the plan is that they are giving them the illusion that there are secrets. They are giving them the illusion that what they have done is still a secret. They are giving them the illusion that there are two paths, that there is a choice, but there is no choice. Every single time I ask a question about anything going on, I get this. That's shock, that's surprise, and that's the end when people go out the window. And some people will physically go out the window, okay? I have not been pulling tarot cards on all of these things, except for I did pull tarot cards on the last video that I did, which was the FEMA camps. There's an illusion of secrecy here, but there are no secrets. There's an illusion that there's a choice, that there are two paths, but there is no two paths. There is no choice. It's all coming down. It's all controlled demolition. Now, those of you before I'm on here till midnight have ever heard of NESARA, JSARA. It is a whole host of incredible things. And just to give you a brief hint of what NESARA and JSARA is, if you don't know, you can look up NESARA. NESARA is actually United States. JSARA is worldwide. It's debt forgiveness, and it's a whole host of other things. One of the really cool things that's in NESARA and JSARA is that if you as a person buy anything used, there's no tax. Now, if I'm going to go to the thrift store and buy a sweater that Rennie just donated, why do I need to pay tax on it if Rennie paid tax on it? And maybe she got it from the Salvation Army, and maybe she paid tax on it. So buying a house, buying a car, buying clothes, buying a motorcycle, buying a boat, whatever you're buying, whatever physical thing you're buying, if it's used, there's no tax. Is that not freaking amazing? Everything I buy is used, okay? Except for my food and my underwear, probably. Everything else is used, okay? So no tax on used items. On brand new items, it'll be a very high tax. It'll be like 14%. And I don't see anything wrong with that, because that also really, really, really asks us to look at, one, how we're spending money, but two, how we're recycling and reusing things. If we can just go buy something that's already been used and not pay any tax on it. The other thing is the IRS will be abolished. Now, I see the financial reset and all of this happening about around the time that the news media goes black. I started to see the financial aspect of this, right? As I trying to remember to keep in chronological order without being here for 3 hours of what's going to happen. And the media goes out the massive stuff that's going to happen in the streets, in the air, whatever starts happening, and the reset is in there. As soon as I started to see the reset and the abolishment of the IRS, it all went blank. That was it. That was over. Okay. Now, I got on the internet tonight, right before I made this video, which is why I was a half an hour late, because when I got on there to look for the name of the guy who was the IG of the DOJ, Michael, I started finding out other things that I didn't know. And guess what came up? Guess what I saw right before I came on here live? And again, this is on the table. So there are three massive things that are on the table that they are not announcing. Sorry, this chair is really hard. I redid my whole kitchen dining room. You can't see the kitchen. There are three massive things that are on the table for the acts. Number one, the Department of Education would lose any, all complete, zero funding from the federal government. Now, you might think that's a bad thing. They want to take it up to the state level or figure out another way to do it. But all of this money, the problem with the government is you've got a lot of money being allocated for funds. And let's say there's 12, let's say on paper or in the computer system, you've got $30 million or $300 million going to the education system in the United States. Well, we know, because we just found out here from the DOJE that they're just shoving through anything. So when they're shoving through money through the Treasury for the schools, $300 million, I'm just making up a number. I have no idea what it is. How much money is the school getting? 100,000, 50,000, a million? You see, they have no control over it. But the bigger part of that is the education system is absolute, total, complete failure, right? I know that principals and teachers have amazing ideas and amazing goals, and they love their job and they want to educate students. This is not a bash against the teachers. This is, again, we go up to the level of puppeteering. The school system is set up to keep you from being an independent thinker, to keep you from being psychic, to keep you from being intuitive, to keep you in a little box of compliance. And the biggest reason I'm able to do this channel and tell you about visions or science or quantum physics and a whole host of things I don't know about is because when I get the information, I don't have the educational indoctrination to say, this can't be true. I just assume, well, there's the message, and I tell you. So on the table right now, zero federal funding for the education system, for the zero federal funding for the Department of Education, period. The second thing that's on the chopping block, there went another orb. The second thing that went on the chopping block is RFK and Trump want every single vaccination on this planet pulled and no longer given until every single one of those vaccinations can be studied unbiasedly and make sure that they are safe and effective. Second thing on the table. The last thing on the table. Thank you, Scott. Must see TV. I thought you guys would be gone by now. Right before I went to go live, I had to look up and see what this guy's name was that got canned at the DOJ because so much shit happened while I was in Florida. I couldn't keep up. And John studies a lot about underground news, quantum physics, science, astronomy, all kinds of things. So I would say like, oh, I see this. And he's like, well, that can be explained by this. And so I'm like, hold on, let me get my notepad. So right before I came on here live, I saw an article that said, here's the title of the article, the largest tax forgiveness windfall in American history is what Trump is working on right now. It's already worked on, it's on the table. When they say on the table, who knows? It could have been in the plan. Well, it's part in Nisara and Jasara that there is no tax on anything except for new goods. Okay, that means, Scott, that there's no taxes coming out of your paycheck anymore. That's what that means. That's what Nisara and Jasara mean, is zero tax on used goods, zero tax on your payroll, and 14% or so tax on everything you buy new. Tonight, it came out that the largest tax forgiveness windfall in American history was on the table for President Trump. And I don't know, my girlfriend keeps sending me video after video of Trump in office signing executive orders. I haven't had time to watch any of those. Also, I wanted to look at the executive orders because I've been trying to tell people for the last 2 years, my family and friends, when they make negative comments about what's going on, I said, I could get on TV and say anything I want. And we all know I'm here and I do that. But that doesn't mean it's true, right? You guys know me. I'm sharing with you what I'm getting. I'm not telling you it's 100% true, but anybody can go on TV and say anything they want. If you want to know what a politician has done, or specifically a president, especially a president that's already been in office, had a term in office, turn the TV on. You go to whitehouse.gov and you look at executive orders and see what bills he has signed. It's really not that difficult, especially when it comes to Trump, because we got 4 years of executive orders from him already. How about that? How about an executive order that's the largest tax forgiveness windfall in American history? Guess how much it is? $300 million in taxpayer debt. $300 million in taxpayer debt will be forgiven if this goes through. How's that for news? Yes, I think that covers it. Hopefully there isn't anything I miss. The biggest thing I think, to get across is to know that all these things that you're seeing in some capacity, what you're seeing is mostly the truth, but the story about where it's coming from, who's doing it, who's calling the shots, where it's coming from, why it happened, and the incidences around it, right? So some guy went to the store to buy bananas, right? Doesn't say the guy's name, doesn't say how far he drove, doesn't say what kind of car he drove, right? All these things that are happening are giving you a list of generic information so that we can talk and argue amongst ourselves about women, about gender, about the military being idiots, and all a bunch of host of other stuff. Now, I will tell you, I was very nervous to fly back here, flying 3 days after, I think it's been 5 plane crashes now. The other thing I want you to know is don't freak out about that. Now, all of these are not military things. Most of you know that the Earth has moved into an area of a photon belt, which is very highly photonic. And that means for you and I and all of sentient life that it delivers downloads and upgrades, and every photon carries a light package or a package of information. However, high photonic light like that and all the other solar stuff that's going on as well causes problems, not with the plane itself, but with the plane's instruments. So there's a plane that landed in a mall parking lot somewhere that was like way west of the airport. They had a safe landing, thank God. We didn't need another catastrophe, right? One's enough. But they were just due west of the airport. So you can have the best pilot in the whole world. If your instruments are not registering that it's time to go down, here's the airport, we had a serious problem. So aspects of the technology themselves in the planes are not working in this energy. Part of that is because we're in a photonic belt that is hyper, I don't know, sensitive, but it can also be hyper chaotic. You know, when these storms come in, how we can feel chaotic or manic for an hour or whatever. Okay, that plays its role on instruments. All the stuff going on with the sun plays a role with the instruments. Every time the sun, I think I said this in 2017, every time the sun shoots something off, it doesn't just trickle into Earth. The sun shoots, it goes directly to the core of Earth, and then photons come out of the ground. I wrote about this. I said, it's going to sound crazy. I understand that. But here's what I'm seeing. Somebody who follows me very closely, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, said that they came out with an article 3 weeks after I wrote that article saying that they just discovered that what I said was true. They didn't mention me, Tina Hammond. What Tina Hammond just discovered was true. Their article was almost the same as my article, okay? On top of all of this, we have a sun that is kind of doing the same thing our government is doing. It's like we're over here going, oh, more incomplete silence. And then bam, the shit goes nuts. And then we go, oh, and then the shit goes nuts. Part of that is the solar cycle we're in. The other part of that right now that has a huge influence is how we are acting and reacting to the military, how we're acting and reacting to what's going on the world stage, and how we are acting and reacting to our family, friends, and neighbors. I told you guys a little over 3 years ago that you and I are completely and totally capable, separately and independently of each other, of getting really fired up about something in a good way and causing solar flares. You get two people that are really powerful that really spark each other, that like quadruples how we affect the sun. We're not just in the ascension cycle, we are essentially creating ascension. We are essentially also causing solar flares to happen as well. Now, as all this amping up goes on within the Food and Drug Administration, within the Department of Justice, within the FBI, within all of these groups, and people get fired up and get really excited. Oh my God, it's about fucking time. You guys, I told you, I've been privy to some of this since I was about 10. I thought it was over. I thought it was never going to happen until Friday night. I could not be more excited. That's why I did that last video was a tarot reading on the FEMA camps. I've never been so excited about anything in my life, especially after them getting away with the COVID-19 for that many years, and all the travesty and all the sickness and all the health problems and all the deaths and illness correlating with those shots, all the mandates, all the lockdowns, all the brainwashing. People are still today in conversation saying direct quotes that were coming off the news. Now, the only reason I know they're direct quotes from the news is because when I talk to somebody that's not in the know about like daily happenings, they're still traumatically responding to and pushing out those sentences. Orange man is a rapist. We're all in this together. All that crap that came with it, right? I was over it, and I'm like, we cannot have this. And I knew, I've been talking about it since August of 2023. We're so close to them coming in and doing another pandemic. Was this military operation going to happen in time to stop it? Because I'm not dealing with a lockdown. I would just go sit on a beach in another country somewhere. I am never, ever going to go through that, stand 6 feet away, wear a mask, and don't speak to anyone. And I had people running, when I was running in the winter down the sidewalk, I had people running with masks on that went in the main road and risked getting hit by a car on a crazy street where people don't stop, because that was safer than walking next to another human being that didn't have a mask on. I wasn't going to do this again. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so sorry that it's so long. There are not two choices. There are not two roads. There are not two paths. This is a demolition. It's a military operation. It's completely all a demolition plan. And the fact that there is anything else that can happen, the fact that someone, and I mean across the board, okay, from every point of technology from 3D up to 12, we have friends and we have foe from all these dimensions up to 12, in case you didn't know that. In all of those dimensions, everybody is working together, and they may have the illusion that they're going to get away with this. That would be a path, right? One path is I'm free. One path is, oh shit, I'm going to jail forever. I'm going to military tribunals. I might lose my life. There is a faction that thinks that they can hijack and change the timeline. There's the faction that thinks they might be able to get out of military tribunals. They think all kinds of things. What I'm telling you is all of those things are an illusion. You may see things or hear things that sound or look like a setback. But the most important thing I want you to know is if it looks like a setback to you, that's an illusion. If you think they're going to get away with that, because this goes both ways, right? Not just for the deep state. This goes for us as well. There's one path of unity that we are working on for planetary peace. We are not going to have this paid for and bought for war, poisoning of our food, poisoning of everything sentient on life. It is an illusion that there is a choice here. This is going to happen. There may be some unexpected things, and it's not like we have privy to the whole plan anyway. It's an illusion that these things will stay secret. If, like me, you've been, because I've been kind of really, what's the word? Less than happy is the best way, the positive way I can put it. I've been less than happy about the fact that there's been a lot of things happening, but they're all underground, so nobody knows about them. So they still think that everybody that talks about this stuff is an absolute, is a crazy person or whatever. There aren't going to be any secrets. And I'll tell you what I've been seeing for 12 years. And I actually saw myself on the news and I was like, that's hilarious. This was a couple years before I even made videos or wrote articles or anything. I saw a couple people that I know, myself included, on the news giving the news. I mean, what are they going to do when they go in there and clear house, right? People were forced and perhaps doing their job. But just in case you're getting discouraged, that these things are just going to keep happening underground, that your family, that your friends, that the world is not going to be aware of this, that they're never going to wake up to it. That's an illusion also. The tower is coming down, and in a very physical way. Not only will the deep state feel it, the alliance will feel it, you and I will feel it. We're all going to experience this. It's all coming down. The fact that there are going to be any secrets left unturned is an illusion. The fact that there is any other timeline happening than this alliance timeline of peace, medical freedom, joy, and debt redistribution and forgiveness, there is nothing else that's going to happen. And I know it's going to get messy and chaotic between now and then. But nevertheless, this is finally, right? And I feel like maybe sometime along the way that I lost people that were watching me over on Facebook to hear, because why? Because I was telling you things 3 years ago that are just now happening. So it was very, very surprising on Friday and Saturday. So that'd be January 29th and February 1st that I was like, oh shit, health organizations, FCC, mass arrest, reset. Whew. And I'm like, yeah, right. I've been seeing this forever. And I was like, I have to make this video because at the rate we're going, everything was going to happen before I even made this video happen. I was absolutely shocked and utterly pleasantly surprised tonight when I went on there to look for the director of the DOJ and found out that the largest tax forgiveness windfall in American history is on the table, and it's $300 million in tax debt forgiveness for the American people. Okay, we are going to be dancing in the streets, and what I've been saying on the news that doesn't make the news for the last 3 years is finally making the news. I told you guys that was going to happen, and I was going to have to cite that. We have a huge, huge, huge breakthrough coming, right? Breakthrough. And we are going to hear about it in physical reality. This is going to be balanced. We are going to be sovereign. Debt is going to be forgiven. And we're not going to deal with this medical bullshit and the poisoning of our food anymore. And that was proven to me when Phyllis, I'm sorry, I can't remember her last name, was hauled out physically of her chair from the government, whatever day that happened, sometime right at the end of January, and immediately thereafter arrested. She was in charge of everything connected, all umbrellas connected to our food supply that has been poisoning us since they didn't start doing it until late 70s, early 80s. So they knew what was coming. Here's the thing, you guys, that's so crazy. They have privy, the people pulling the strings have privy to the Ascension awareness. They know about Ascension. They know about Nexus timelines. They know about stealing timelines and shifting timelines and making timelines disappear. They knew that the Ascension was coming. They knew that the people on the planet alive at this time were going to turn into, I told you so many times, we are the most advanced technology on the planet. We are turning into superhuman consciousness. We're going to do all these things. When they started poisoning the food, was directly aimed at a part of the population. Now, it was aimed at all of us, don't get me wrong. It's the population agenda. But if you look at the date when they started it, it was specifically aimed at the people between 40 and 70 years old. Congratulations, you made it. Not to end that on a down note, but since they were privy to the Ascension cycle, that's why they were doing what they were doing to the food. They weren't doing it because it was cheap. I'm sure that was a nice little sidebar for them, the fact that they could make food out of, plastic and whatever else they're putting in it. But it was directly aimed at us during the Ascension cycle, during the Ascension process, so that we would halt our conscious expansion from becoming super conscious, from becoming the highest technology available on this planet. And we just fired the person that is in charge of poisoning the planet. Okay? We fired her. And Putin said years ago, you know what? If the U.S. agricultural system can't grow enough and produce enough non-GMO organic food, I guess Russia will have to come over there and help you out. Thank you so much for being here. I may have to change the title to the news next week instead of the news that didn't make the news. We shall see. Thank you for being here for almost 2 hours. I love each and every one of you so much. And I just want you to be inspired because this is amazing. And I just want you to know that you don't have to look at every single incident, military or otherwise, with a microscope. And just know that it's happening, and what's happening, even if that thing, if you walk outside and you have a flat tire, you're like, oh shit, I have a flat tire, I'm going to be late to work. That's bad, right? Not necessarily. There could have been a car crash, a 10-car car crash that you didn't get in because you had a flat tire. That's how you have to look at this. I know there's going to be some chaos. Okay. So right around the time the news media goes down, it is a possibility because the reevaluation of currency and the debt forgiveness falls somewhere in between when the lights go out on media and social media. So there may be 48 hours approximately to a week, where you may have a hard time getting things. You may have a hard time with your debit or credit card working. You may have issues with the bank. Make sure you have some money. Make sure you have enough food for 1 week. I've been telling you this for a year. The other thing is the sun is about to amp up because the alliance is here, right? Also, I've been seeing for quite a while now, because the sun is a stargate, so ships can come in and out of that all day long. Does no damage to the ship or the inhabitants of the ship or the sun. Doesn't do anything to the sun. But I have been remote. I have never ever said this before. In my remote viewing of the sun, which started in 2016, along with everything else, apparently, end of 15, beginning of 16, I saw the sun and I saw ships on either side of the sun, and they take turns, and they would, because like I said, they can go in and out of it without causing a solar flare, but they're directing some kind of energy manipulator, I will say, at the sun. You'll see something fly right by the sun. You'll see a stream of energy come out of that ship, and then the sun will go, okay? So we have that going on as well. We are also being beamed energy, high frequency energy, from one of the parts of the alliance. I hate to call them extraterrestrial because most of what we're seeing are on this planet right now. But the part of that faction is also beaming this high frequency energy from the photon belt and from the galactic center at us intentionally. I don't know if you know this, but according to one military insider, they had all the information. They knew the ascension was going to happen. They had volunteers, and they picked 2 different kinds of volunteers for this. But they had a room. This was a military test. They had a room, and they pumped that room full of the ascension frequency, the ascension vibration. And when they did this study, they gave people a series questionnaires. They picked people that were quick to anger, quick to agitate, high blood pressure kind of situation. And then they picked people that were overall pretty calm. They thought life was pretty awesome no matter what. And they 50-50, they put these people in the room with this inundated ascension energy to see how they were going to react in advance to the energy getting here. Okay, so they did this quite some time ago. I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, I think, as approximately when they did it. It doesn't matter. What they found was that people in general, that were generally healthy, generally happy, and optimistic, they were real calm and subdued, like they had a little bit of Valium or smoked a little bit of weed. The people that had an angry, high blood pressure type of disposition, not that everyone that has high blood pressure is angry, I'm not saying that, but quick to anger, quick to temper, those people got real heated, they got real tempered, of wonkiness in both directions. So the high tempered side of it was like agitated, angry, yelling, wanting to fight with other people. And the people that were acting like they smoked a little weed or had a Valium were at the totally opposite end of the spectrum, like kind of laughing like they got too high. Okay, so they knew, they did this 8 or 10 years ago at least. Military know, they have run simulations on what's going to happen. We are in a different place with the photon belt. We are in a different solar cycle. The sun is reacting to our level of excitement and what's happening on this earth. We have spaceships directly using manipulation to send part of this whole. There's a million different things going on, you guys, okay? So remember to exercise, remember to breathe, remember to hydrate. And one of the things that is really super duper important when we're talking about ascension and solar energy is to make sure that you eat as many things that were out in the sun for a long time as you can. Okay, so bananas, any kind of citrus, avocados, any fresh food is great, but specifically citrus, avocados, bananas, pineapples takes 2 years for them. They have 2 years of sunshine. The more food you eat that took between 6 months and 2 years to produce, the easier that your body will handle the ascension process, okay? And it is, of course, no accident that all of this was planned during the ascension cycle, again, because both sides are aware of that, okay? This is the best news that didn't make the news I've ever heard. So excited to make the announcement of the things I've heard and seen and felt for over 35 years now. Thank you so much. It's been 2 hours. It's officially my longest video in history. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Yeah, I eat pasta like once a month and potatoes like once or twice a month because I make a vegetable soup that's like zucchini and squash and onions and garlic and broccoli with a little bit of potatoes and blend it. So it has a little teeny bit of starch. But yeah, I buy about a loaf of bread about every 2 months, and it's gluten-free. So that's where I'm at. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Until next time. Bye.